One thing that's worth reading is just this. I'll just read it out. You can take down anything you think is noteworthy, but this is what Miller actually said. He said, the Crucible was an act of desperation. All right, I even like that phrase. It was a desperate act. Much of my desperation branched out, I suppose, from a typical depression because they're disillusioned and a lot of people are living in poverty and without jobs. The blow struck on my mind by the rise of European fascism. Who's that referring to? Who was a fascist in Europe? Who's he referring to there? Hitler, right? Hitler's what you call a fascist. He was a totalitarian leader, but he's called fascist because he actually discriminated against a particular group of people. And he was very nationalistic. So if someone's like all about Germany, German pride, and they try and persecute particular groups of people, that's what we'd call fascist. So Hitler, brutal anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism means anti-Jewish. So again, that's impacted Miller. It had brought to power. But look at the next bit. But by 1950, when I began to think of writing about the hunt for Reds, the Red Scare. Did everyone write that down earlier from the table? The Red Scare, that's what it's called. In America, I was motivated in some great part by the paralysis that had set in among many liberals, people who fought for freedom, who, despite their discomfort with the Inquisitors' violations of civil rights, were fearful, and with good reason, of being identified as covert communists if they should protest too strongly. Doesn't that sum up everything we've been talking about nicely, right? Does that make complete sense now, having that discussion earlier? That if you stood up and voiced your opinion that this is wrong, that we're all being accused of communists, you then were going to be called a communist. That's the paradox he was trying to deal with. The Red Hunt, led by the House Committee of Un-American Activities, that's HUAC, and by McCarthy, was becoming the dominating fixation of the American psyche. That's a nice phrase if you want to write that down, right? Those committees, those investigations, was the dominating fixation of the American psyche. That's good if you can use that in the essay. You can use that phrase directly. The American psyche, how people were thinking, was dominated by a fear of these committees and McCarthy because no one wanted to be alienated.